The night air is thick. Fog hangs low over the town. It clings to the wooden houses. It muffles every sound. A single lantern cuts through the gray mist. The light is small and weak. It moves slowly down a dirt road. He was already inside. The sound of creaking wood echoes from an unseen porch. Beyond it, a two-story house stands dark. Every window is a black square. Now there is only darkness. A complete and total darkness that swallows everything. And the Villisca axe murders have not yet been named. Villisca, Iowa was a simple place in 1912. It was a town of train tracks and churches. People knew their neighbors. They left their doors unlocked. Life moved at a slow, predictable pace. The days were filled with hard work. The evenings were for family. Children played in the dusty streets until dusk. Their laughter was the town's music. The Moore family was well known. Josiah Moore was a respected businessman. He owned a successful farm implement store. His wife, Sarah, was active in the church. She was known for her kindness in her garden. Herman, Catherine, Boyd, Paul. Their house on East 2nd Street was a happy home. On this particular weekend, the Moores had guests. Ina Stillinger. They had come to spend the night after attending the Children's Day program at the Presbyterian Church. The Stillinger girls were supposed to be safe there. It was just another night in Villisca. The evening of June 9th was calm. The Moore family walked home from church. The Stillinger sisters walked home from church. The sun was setting. It painted the sky in shades of orange, purple. Inside the house, lamps were lit. A soft, yellow glow filled the rooms. It pushed back the growing darkness. Sarah Moore prepared a small evening meal. The children played a final game before bed. One by one, lamps were turned down, wicks trimmed, glass chimneys cool to the touch. They climbed the wooden staircase. Its steps creaked under their weight. Quilts pulled up to chins. Heavy fabric a comfort. Each door was closed. The house grew quiet. Only soft breaths of 8 sleeping people. But a shadow was already there. A presence that did not belong. Slipped in through an unlocked door. Waiting in the dark corners of the barn. Hiding in the house for hours. Listening. Not a guest. An intruder. Moving with chilling calm. No hurried rush. A slow, deliberate purpose. The moon rose higher. Pale light filtered through thin curtains. Long, distorted shadows across the floors. A floorboard upstairs made a small noise. A shadow fell across a sleeping child's face. It was there for a moment, then gone. The house a silent witness. It held the secret of the man who was already inside. This secret would haunt the Villisca, Iowa murder house forever. The sun rose on Monday, June 10th. It was a bright, clear morning. The birds began to sing. The town of Villisca started to wake up, but the Moore house remained still. It was too still. Mary Peckham, the next-door neighbor, noticed the silence. She walked over to the Moore house. She knocked on the front door. There was no answer. She tried the handle. The door was locked from the inside. She went around to the back of the house. She peered into the windows. The drawn shades blocked her view. Josiah? Sarah? Only the wind answered. Mary Peckham called Josiah's brother, Ross Moore. Ross had a key. He tried to unlock the front door. Something was blocking it. He went to the back and forced the kitchen door open. He stepped inside. The house was cold. It was dark. He saw a shape on the downstairs bed, covered with a sheet. What he saw made him run from the house, shouting for help. The town marshal, Hank Horton, arrived. Soon, the house was swarming with people, neighbors, doctors, the curious, all crowded inside. The news spread through Villisca like a wildfire. No one could believe it. It was impossible. The shock was a physical thing. It hung in the air. People stood in the street, staring at the house in stunned silence. The crime scene was disturbed before it could be secured. The horror of what happened inside the Moore family home was now a public spectacle. The investigation was compromised from the very start. The quiet town was on the edge of a story that would become an infamous, unsolved true crime case, one of America's most haunting historical unsolved mysteries. The scene inside the house was quiet and strange. It was not a scene of chaos. It was a scene of order, a strange, terrifying order. In every bedroom, the mirrors had been covered. Sheets, clothing. Every reflective surface was draped. It was as if the killer did not want to see his own reflection. Or perhaps, he did not want the spirits of the dead to be trapped. The beds were neatly made, but the blankets were pulled up over the victims. The killer had taken time to arrange things. Downstairs, in the kitchen, they found a bowl filled with bloody water. It seemed the killer had washed his hands before he left. Near the back door, they found the weapon. It was Josiah Moore's own axe. It was wiped clean, but not perfectly. A plate of uneaten food sat on the kitchen table next to a slab of bacon. The killer had brought the bacon up from the icebox. He had left it behind. He had removed the glass chimneys from the kerosene lamps. He moved through the house in near total darkness, using only a small, controlled flame. This meant he was comfortable in the dark. He knew the layout of the house. In the attic, they found 2 cigarette butts. It suggested the killer had waited there, smoking, listening, until the family was asleep. He was a patient hunter. These objects told a story. They spoke of a killer who was not a madman. He was organized. He was careful. He spent hours in the house. Before the crime. After the crime. He locked the doors behind him when he left. He walked away into the morning, disappearing as silently as he had arrived. The clues were everywhere, but they created more questions than answers. They painted a picture of the killer's actions, but not his identity. This collection of strange items became the core of this dark and compelling true crime story. The search for the killer began immediately. Search parties moving through town, lanterns and knocked doors, flyers and posters. The town was filled with fear, suspicion. Everyone was a potential suspect. The investigation was wide and chaotic. Dozens of people were questioned. The town wanted answers. They wanted justice. But the killer seemed to have vanished into thin air. The whispers started. Who could do such a thing? Who was the monster that had walked among them? One of the first suspects was Frank F. Jones, powerful Iowa state senator, Josiah Moore's former employer. They had become bitter business rivals. Some believed Jones hired William Mansfield. Mansfield was rumored to be a killer for hire. He was arrested. A grand jury failed to indict him. No solid evidence tied them to the crime. The theory was based on motive and rumor, nothing more. Another suspect, Reverend George Kelly, an odd traveling preacher, attended Children's Day that night, left on an early morning train. Years later, he confessed. His confession was detailed and disturbing. He was tried twice. Both trials ended in hung juries. Many dismissed the confession as ramblings. He was acquitted. Other theories pointed to a transient killer, hopped off a train, committed the horrific act, disappeared on the next train out of town. Similar axe murders had occurred elsewhere. Was it a serial killer moving from town to town? The so-called hobo killer was never identified. No suspect was ever convicted. The case remains officially unsolved. Years passed. The town of Villisca healed, but it never forgot. The house on East 2nd Street became a landmark of sorrow. For a long time, it was just a private residence. Families lived there. They tried to make it a normal home, but the memory of what happened within its walls was too strong. The story was passed down through generations. Today, the house has been restored to look as it did in 1912. It is preserved as a museum. People can walk through the rooms in quiet, somber steps. They can see the place where the Moore family spent their last night. They can see the place where the Stillinger sisters spent their last night. The house itself feels heavy with history, where the past feels very, very close. Many people who visit report strange experiences, cold spots in the middle of a warm room, the sound of children's voices when no one is there, objects said to move on their own, doors that open and close. Some have recorded audio clips, whispers, faint and unintelligible. Paranormal investigators set up cameras, EMF meters, audio recorders. The house stands as a silent witness. It has outlasted the victims. It has outlasted the investigators. It has outlasted the suspects. It holds the truth of that night somewhere in its wooden frame. Some monsters don't hide in the woods. They hide in houses, and sometimes they never leave. This has been the Villisca Axe Murders, a creepy real event, a true crime horror that still haunts a real haunted house story. If you want more real unsolved mysteries, subscribe and comment. Tell us another case. Some houses have memories. This one has a voice.